I live in Oklahoma, and I'm divorced. I've been single for a few years now, and my friend said I should try online dating. So I went ahead and joined an online dating site. At first, I didn't really find anyone interesting. I set up my dating radius 50 miles from my town, thinking it would be great to meet someone local who I could meet for dinner and get to know them. As the weeks went on, none of the local guys appealed to me. I had gotten some vulgar messages and guys wanting to meet for hookups, but I wasn't looking for that. One day I decided to change my radius to no restrictions, meaning I could meet guys from anywhere and they could message me. This dating site was set up if you had your radius set to a certain limitation, then only people in that limitation could message you. As soon as I set it up to no restrictions, the messages flooded in and I had guys from all over the country and all over the world message me. Some just sent nasty messages, but then I got a message from a man named Harrington Jones. He told me my profile picture caught his attention and he'd love to get to know me more and sent me a virtual rose. This was different than the tons of messages I'd gotten before. Most of them were men asking for my measurements, for photos, and asking for hookups. His profile picture was a handsome military man in uniform. He asked where I was from, and I told him Oklahoma. He said he had a house in Texas, and that's where he lived, but he was deployed to Syria for peacekeeping. I made a joke with him about Oklahoma and Texas, and he didn't react. If you don't know, we always have a fun rivalry between states and kind of make fun of each other, so I found it weird he didn't get the joke. He said he was a widow and his wife died from a kidney disease. He sent me a long message about the kind of disease she had, and I can't remember what it was. He said he had a son who was 8 and away at school in a privatized military school for children of deployed parents. He said he had no family but his son. He then asked about me, and I told him I was divorced and my ex-husband was not very kind. He then sent me a few paragraphs about love and how it's like a tender flower you must care for. I thought it was very sweet. I told him I have no kids, and he said his son was named James and he was missing his motherly figure. He said he was deployed for 2 years and then asked for my phone number and if I had WhatsApp. Well, I didn't have WhatsApp, but I felt good enough to give him my phone number. He walked me through how to download WhatsApp, and we started chatting there. I remember his WhatsApp was a business number with a military logo. He said it was his privatized military number, and we could safely chat and call from here. He then tried to video call me, and I picked up. His side had no camera, but then it came on. He was in a loud place with lots of noise, and the video kept freezing. He kept asking me to smile and tilt my head, prove that I'm real. I found it strange and asked him to do the same, and he cut the video off. He stopped the chat and didn't come back for almost an hour. He then came back and said there was a bombing and he had to go suddenly. I felt bad for him and his safety, and he said it was okay. I then told him that he didn't have a Texas accent on the video call and asked him to video call again. He said he couldn't due to the recent restrictions because of the bombing. He then told me he was living in Texas and had a home there, but he was originally from Germany, but his mother and father were from Switzerland, and he spent his summers in the Swiss Alps, and he's picked up a mixed European accent. I told him it was something I've never heard, but all in all, it was interesting. We kept chatting on WhatsApp. He asked about my job, my home, if I rented or owned my home. I didn't feel it was too intrusive, and he told me he owned a large home in Texas, and he gave me the address and photos of it. He also sent me photos of his son, James. We kept chatting nearly every day, sharing stories, relationship pasts, and what he wanted for his future. He then asked if I would email his son James, and he told his son about me. I think that was a bit quick, but I agreed to email his son and just say hello. He gave me James's email, and I sent him an email introducing myself as his father's new friend. That's when Harrington asked if we could be exclusive, and if I would take myself off the dating site as he already took himself off as proof of a commitment to me. He then sent me a picture of our photos together with 2 hearts next to them. While it was going fast, I felt that it was okay, and I told him I would go off the dating site, and I did. I was really just interested in him. He would call me all hours of the day and night, and by this time his son was sending me emails every day asking if I was his new mommy. I never gave James a direct answer, but in my heart I felt like I cared for this boy, and I was falling for Harrington. We talked about meeting after his deployment, but it was so long. He said he could take a 2-week leave from the military, but he would have to pay for his replacement. I didn't know how it worked, and he said his bank was frozen until the military contract ended. So I asked him, how does he pay his house payment and bills while he's deployed? He said his home is paid for, he paid cash, and since he's not living there, he has no bills. I found it weird because even if you're not home, you still accumulate an electric bill and a water bill, and looking back, I should have questioned this more. He said he contacted his general, and he sent me a military replacement form saying it would cost $1,400 to replace him for the 2 weeks, and another $1,000 for the flight to Dallas. He said from there he would rent a car and drive to me in Oklahoma. I was about 4 hours from Dallas. He asked if I would be able to pay for the leave and his flight, and he would pay me back when his contract finished, where he would get all of his pay plus his bonus. I really didn't have that kind of money. That would be $2,400 in total plus any fee to transfer the money. I told him that's quite a bit for me to try and get, but I told him I would do my best. I ended up doing an auto title loan. My payments and interest were high on the loan, but I was able to get the money, and Harrington was elated. On the email from the military, it said to transfer the money to a bank in New York. It was an LLC company bank account, so it looked really official to me. I ended up transferring the money to his bank account without any holdups. He said this was a military agent's company bank account. Harrington thanked me and asked for the transfer receipt for proof that he could show his general. Then his son James emailed me, thanking me for letting his daddy come home, and he wished he could be with us. I reached out to Harrington asking why his son can't come since it was getting close to the holidays. Surely the kids would have a winter break. He then told me since James is in a special military school, they charge the parents if the child leaves for holiday because most kids stay there and their parents are deployed. I asked him what the charge was for him to leave for vacation. Harrington said he would have to ask the school director, but it was hard to get a hold of James via email all the time because his iTunes card ran out. I didn't know what an iTunes card was, and he explained it's a card for his son to charge his phone with minutes, which is how he emails, via phone. He then asked if I could get his son a $100 iTunes gift card. I told him I would, just so we could figure out how to get him here for a break and be with us. I went to Quick Trip Market to try and find these cards. Harrington told me Walmart has them, but my Walmart's not close. I finally found one at a second Quick Trip store that I went to, and I bought it. He told me to scratch the back of the card and go ahead and email a photo to his son James of the card, who then thanked me and said his school director would email me about a school break. I received an email from his school director, Mabel, who said the student leave would be $800 for 2 weeks and he would have to be back by the 14th day time frame or an additional charge would be due. She included a form that asked for my name, address, occupation, phone number, copy of my driver's license, which was to be uploaded, along with the name to send the payment to, which was a woman in New York. I went ahead and uploaded my information. Harrington said he was frustrated with this because the school is so strict and he thinks he should just leave his son there. But I told him no, he hasn't seen his father in forever and we could all be together. I told him I would go ahead and pay the money and not to worry. He thanked me and was crying, saying I was a gift from God. He showed me a picture of his bag he was packing and couldn't wait to be out of the war zone. I ended up getting a personal loan from a friend of mine. I told her it was for car repairs as I didn't want her to know I was dating anyone. She'd want to know everything and she would judge me. Harrington said it's best we keep things private for now until we are together, and then we can surprise my friends and family. And I agreed. I didn't want the third degree. I was able to get the money transferred into my bank account after the friend loaned it to me, and then I sent it to the account in New York. Pretty soon Harrington said he would fly out. He even sent me a flight ticket, and his son James would meet him in Dallas at the airport, and then together they would drive here. The day before he was supposed to fly out, I got a message on WhatsApp from a person not in my contact list. It was a man named General Mark Smith. He said Harrington had been caught up in a bombing and was hurt. I tried calling this general right away, but he wouldn't answer. He said it's forbidden, but that Harrington had his legs injured, and he sent me pictures of some badly injured legs. Not his body or face, it was just a cropped photo of legs. He said he needed to be flown to Virginia for emergency surgery, but the military airline was full of other injured men, and they had no room for him. He then told me I would need to pay $40,000 for the flight. This is when I thought, this is so weird. I told him tons of military men get flown out all the time from a war zone. Surely they wouldn't leave him behind. I told him I don't have that kind of money to fly him out. The general then said, well, ma'am, that's your choice to allow him to suffer. I reached out to a few charity places, the USO and other military charities. One wrote me back telling me that military men never pay for anything, including flight evacuation. And they suggested I contacted the police. They fear maybe I've been scammed. I didn't know what to think, but I told this general I was not paying for this ridiculous flight. He stopped contacting me, and then I received an email from James, screaming at me in text saying that I'm letting his daddy suffer and what a horrible mother I am. I felt at this point something's wrong, and I ended up contacting my local police to let them know what happened. The officer was nice enough, but told me that it's a scam and suggested I reach out to some cybercrime reporting website through the FBI and file a complaint. He said to block and stop talking to these people online as it's likely a scam. I felt so dumb. I ended up marking the son's email as spam. I blocked the general, and I blocked Harrington on WhatsApp. Since then, I get via WhatsApp messages and calls from foreign numbers with a +233 country code. I ended up removing WhatsApp, and I changed my email as I kept getting all kinds of garbage there. I admit it was scammed, and I've gone off online dating and will stick to only in person. I'm paying off the loan from my friend and the car title loan. It'll take me a year or so, but I'll get there. We'd like to thank this lady for sharing her story. Unfortunately, military romance scams are very prevalent and they're growing. Remember, real military men don't need you to pay for anything. They don't need you to contact their general or their commander. It just simply does not work that way. If you've been scammed and you'd like to share your encounter, whether you lost money or you didn't, you can always find us online via email, scammingscammers@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook again as Scamming Scammers Cyber Education. You can always drop us a message there as well. Thanks for listening, and until next time.